Obviously a lot of what happens on the beach, that's state and federal money. A town can only do so much. But what can Surf City do to make sure the beaches are the way that the residents want them to be?
Surf City developed in 2005 a land use plan. You'll find that on their website if you want to look. And if you go to page 19, you'll find a statement that Surf City renourishes their beach every 4 years. It did not happen in 2005, it did not happen in 2009, it did not happen in 2013, and it still has not happened. I have no confidence that it's ever going to happen if we simply keep ignoring it. When we first looked at moving to Surf City back in 2015, there was a huge expanse of beach, and then along came Tropical Storm Joaquin, which took a piece of it away. Along came the Hurricane Matthew, which took a piece of it away. Nothing was done, and of course, when Florence came, the dune on 9th Street down from me breached. The ocean came one way into the house, the canal came the other way into the house. We just can't keep depending on Uncle Sam or the people of Boise, Idaho to cough up tax money to fix our beach. One way or the other, you have to first decide what has to be done, which is the re-engineering of the beach, then decide what it costs, and then decide how we're going to fund it. And I know nobody wants to hear words like taxes or whatever, but I'm sure nobody also wants to watch their house wash into the intercoastal waterway. So there are grants available, there is funding available, and of course, if we had an engineered beach, we might very well get some help from the Corps of Engineers. For now, they have promised year after year, and nothing has happened. So I think we have to define the problem, accept the fact that it has to be done, and get it done. We have more plans to do things that we never implement. It's time.
So a quick follow-up, and this is something we hear quite a bit about, is the beach push, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Sort of a temporary measure. It's very comforting for some people if you live right on the edge of the beach, because it looks like you're at the edge of the world, and then it kind of repairs things a little bit. We've also heard some criticisms that it is pretty expensive for a temporary measure. So how do you feel about the beach push operations?
The town has contracted with a company called TI Coastal to do this re-engineering of the beach. If you're going to hire an expert and you're going to seek their opinions and advice, it's always helpful to follow that advice. And at the beach nourishment, or the the dune, they did a dune restoration meeting one day. Not only the guy from TI Coastal, but the guy from the state said that a beach push is a waste of time and money. My understanding is that cost $300,000, and with the first nor'easter, all that sand went back out into the ocean. So I guess I would defer to the experts in making those kind of decisions, and not necessarily do what makes people feel good.
The reading I've done, the research I've done, just looking into federal money, Army Corps of Engineers, that's just predicted every year to become less and less available and less easy to get a hold of. And I too also believe that we can't just count on trying to get money from some other part of the country, some other pocket that we're going to take it out of. We're going to need to find a way and get creative. We do have, we are a tourist town. We have a lot of vacation rentals. We have a lot of people that come here. There is an occupancy tax that is collected on those rentals. I do believe already some portion of that does go towards, the fund for beach nourishment. But we can do studies and we can look at things year after year after year, but if we don't actually take action and start doing something, talking about it's not going to make it happen. We have to get into action, and whether or not we make a coalition with our neighboring communities and we bring in equipment to be able to do the nourishment, and we all share that initial cost of getting everything on site, because that's part of a major expense, is getting the equipment transported and on site to where it can be used. So we all share that cost, and it's going to be a lot less, per city to be able to do that. But we do have to do something, because we do need to preserve and to save our beaches. And as far as the sand push issue, I'm on South Shore. I'm right across the street from the beach, and we evacuated for Florence, and when I came back, I walked onto what was left of our beach access, because towards the end of it, it was just a drop off. And I looked at how much dune and how much sand we lost, and it is devastating. It's horrible. And then I walked further down the beaches, and it's right up to the bulkheads in some houses. Some people may say that pushing sand is a waste, that it's not a wise thing to do, but we did do a sand push, and it's been fairly, as for right now, successful. I know it's a Band-Aid option, but we do have protection back on those houses that were exposed. We did do the sand haul and brought even more sand into the houses that weren't, that were down to the bulkheads. And as far as the section of the beach where I'm at, when Dorian came through here, we actually gained a lot of sand. And with these hurricanes that have been far out in the ocean, and the wave action and the things that we've been getting, we've actually been watching a lot of sand come up on the beach weekly, because the steps that are access to go down, there used to be 3 steps, and now it's up to a landing. So we are seeing natural replenishment coming in, but I do believe that the push was fairly successful, and I'm glad we did it.
Number one, if we don't have our beaches safe for our visitors and our residents, then we're going to not have visitors come to us. So we will lose the money that we need to help fund our beach renourishment. We need hazard flags, we need lifeguards. Lifeguards, if you look at other places in the United States who have beaches, they are the ones who rent the beach equipment, which helps pays their salary. So we need to get lifeguards on our beach accesses. Even though we may not have them on every access, we can have them for the main ones down and towards the pier. We also need to keep our beaches clean. And to that extent, we need to further promote Adopt a Beach. When you adopt one of the beach accesses, you have your name or your organization's name on that particular access. And then you're responsible for making sure you do sweeps up and back to keep your area clean. The other thing we need to do is we need to have safe greenway infrastructure to get people who are off the island or who can park on the other side of the bridge safely to the beaches. And we can work together to get the greenway system going so that we will have that, because the less stress on our infrastructure on island, the better it is for our beaches. Then I spoke to Kama just this week about how all our inland areas we have a lot of sounds and things, and I said, well, can't we dredge those in order to make them deeper, to hold more water so we don't have so much water going over our roads? And they said, those are our breeding grounds. Did you know that those are the breeding grounds for all the crustaceans and the shrimp, and then they go back out to the ocean? So that's another important thing. If you remember back about maybe 15, maybe 20 years ago, when Wrightsville Beach was basically washing into the ocean, they brought that back. There is no reason that our beaches can't be rebuilt and brought back like Wrightsville was. And what we need to do is we need to talk to the town of Wrightsville Beach. We need to get their suggestions of what they did. We don't want to be a Wrightsville Beach, but we do need our beach renourished. And anything that will work to make our beaches larger, wider, more protected, we need to do. If you get on the pier on Topsail and you look up at Surf City, you'll see where Surf City becomes quite narrow, where Topsail is quite wide. So we need to make sure that we work together in concert to build the whole island, because if they lose the middle of the island, then they will have no access to get off the island. So we need to work together with Topsail and North Topsail to make our island wider, safer, more beach, and good access. And as far as the beach push, sometimes all you can do is a temporary measure. It's not going to, it may help some people, not all people, But we plan to make sure that we don't skip a deadline to get our beach renourished. That was missed by this particular administration, and we need to not miss deadlines. We need to be on top of it. And that is not only the mayor's job and the town manager's job, but also all the town council members. They need to make sure that things get done in a timely manner so we don't miss deadlines, so we can have our beaches renourished. And I'm in favor of anything we can do. Number one, we need to get our beaches safe. If we don't have our beach, Topsail Island is going to be in trouble, and we can't afford to have that happen. Thank you.
So my education about beach nourishment came from a gentleman named Jack Solik. Jack's a citizen in our community, and he's passionate about our beaches. I don't know if you've ever met Jack. He is always, his complaint is the last 18 years, he's been wanting beach nourishment, but it's not happened. What are we waiting on? The tail's wagging the dog. At this point, we are waiting on the government to call us back. And I'll never forget Councilwoman Alberry had a fit, and I 100% had a fit because one of the things is some of the people in our town were waiting on the city, waiting on the government to call us back. And Councilman Alberry says, you don't wait on the government to call you back. You have to be aggressive. You have to go after that process. And that's one thing that we need to do is be aggressive about this. You know, Chris Gibson dropped the ball a little bit when he had some health issues. That was an issue. The application wasn't in on time. That was an issue. We were waiting on funding. That's an issue. There was pebbles in the sand. That stopped us. Because they sifted the sand, found some pebbles, and that process stopped. I believe you don't wait, you fix, then collect. Right now what we do is, prime example, I was with somebody today and they were talking about a fire hydrant that was down, and it relates a lot to this fire hydrant was down. It was laying there, it was laying there, it was laying there. And at the end of the day, this citizen called and said, put the fire hydrant back. And they said, we're waiting on, because somebody hit it with a car. And they said, we're waiting on the insurance company to pay us before we put the hydrant back. Okay? We shouldn't wait. We should have fiscal responsibility, fix things, and then collect later. That's our responsibility. Also, too, you know, there's ways that we can create funds. I know I talked about this at the last forum. You know, I believe in a luxury assessment. You're going to hear me talk a lot about a luxury assessment. You know, we have an occupancy tax that I know that Richard talked about. That we don't get all of it. Some of it goes to the county. You know, we pay it, and then the county gets some of it. But you know, I'm in favor of vacationers that come here that use our beaches and go to the bathroom and do those things in our city, paying to do that process a little bit. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's an issue to ask a little bit more from those individuals. I know I have a rental property, and if there was a $20 bill on a person's end bill, it would not deter them from coming to Surf City. And we can raise millions of dollars for our beaches in small assessment. Not on short-term rentals. I mean, I'm not talking long-term rentals, people that rent, but I'm talking about short-term rentals. Because let's be honest, if you rent a vacation property here, and you cook and you eat inside the vacation, but you never shop at Herring's, or you never go to Salty Turtle over beer, you never go to Surf City Barbecue, you never go to Santee, you never go to these places, but you do everything in your home, you don't buy any souvenirs, you do nothing, and you use the beach, no one benefits but the person renting the house. Okay? So there's some things, and yes, the city does get an occupancy tax from that. So there is some ways that we could create some. Also, better spending. We can earn more money by spending better in our community, making sure we're fiscally responsible. You know, I want to go back to the fact of one of my first complaints was month one, we have a welcome center, beautiful facility, but we're spending $300,000 a year to maintain this on salaries, and we're to maintain this on the building. Nobody in their right mind would keep a $300,000 deficit.
All right, we can get to.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there, but it's part of my beach. Let me finish, okay?
All right,
Okay. Sorry.
You get a chance, I promise you.
I'm sure. Okay. But shared service agreements. We have to have better relationships with North Topsail and Topsail Beach and do some shared service agreements to make these things happen. And the last thing is, there was, I don't know if you all remember, when at one time we had an option last year, to spend $500,000 on pushing some sand as a temporary Band-Aid till we could get the funding together, or spend $5 million on dumping and hauling sand. Myself and Councilwoman Teresa Batts voted to spend $500,000 on pushing some sand. I'm not for push, but at the time there was no berms. Some people were left defenseless. So I believe spending $500,000 was better than spending $5 million. Okay, so that didn't work, and then we spent the $5 million. That $5 million came from the money that was saved, you as taxpayers saved for beach nourishment. That came out of that fund. So that fund went down. And these are things that I believe we can do different with some leadership. So anyway, that was it. Thanks.